What's good, y'all? Welcome this week's episode of Talks with Taboo. Welcome this week's episode of the podcast. Hope you're having a great week. Before I introduce this guest, I gotta say October the 16th, I have an EP coming out on Wakan. It's called Something for Your Mind. 4 tracks, 4 solo tracks, and they're all fucking really good. I'm very, very proud of those tracks. Go check it out when it comes out. My guest today is a fellow podcaster. He's also just an absolute animal in the studio. One of those guys who, is a legend in the studio, just well-round, respected all around by almost every producer and DJ. And he's just a guy who's worked with just about everybody in the scene. He's met everybody at some point. And I'm really glad to have him on the podcast. He runs his podcast called the Mr. Bill Podcast. So y'all go check that out. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bill. Come here, girl, 'cause that ass fat. Let me take my tongue and go around your dirt track. I met a girl and her booty tastes like strawberries. I swear to God, this could be the one that I marry. Hey, hey, and she's so damn fine. I may eat that from behind. I met a girl and her booty tastes like strawberries. And we are live, brother.
Cool. Where are we live, on Twitch or something? Or?
Just between me and you, bro. It's just me and you right now. It's our little secret for like 2 days, and then it'll be everybody's secret. You look good, bro. You look like you've lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, I did. I've gone through this in my podcast a bit. I started taking an antidepressant that is like known for also having the effect of losing weight, I guess. And among other things, but yeah, I lost some weight for sure.
Hell yeah, man! I mean, you look good, dude. You're in your new place, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I think last time we talked, I was in a different place, but I'm still in San Francisco though.
Dude, so what made you want to go from Denver to San Fran?
I moved here for a relationship, but I really enjoy being here now. I think it's really cool city. It's funny because when I first moved here, I was talking to a bunch of people who lived here about this city, and they're all like, "Oh, trust me, like when you move here, you'll realize it's the sickest city on the planet, basically." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever. I've been to like hundreds of cities. Like they're all pretty cool. It's fine." But it really is a special city. It's really fucking cool.
What do you like so much about it? Is there a certain thing?
One thing I really like about it is how close everything is together. It's like in Denver or LA or something like that, you need a car to get around for sure. Here it's like you don't need a car. You can probably like just bike or walk everywhere. And in that sense, it makes it kind of just feel like a big festival, or like it makes it feel kind of like just like everyone is neighbors sort of. I like that vibe about it. Whereas in Denver, it's kind of like I would notice even if I lived like 10 minutes from someone, I'd like still wouldn't go to their house because the city just felt so big. And I'd be like, oh, I have to like go across town and shit, and fuck that. Whereas here it's like, I don't know, walking around is super fun. There's a lot to look at and stuff. The art here is cool. Golden Gate Park is really beautiful. The food scene here is nuts. It's super good. But then again, I mean, as I'm saying this, I'm realizing that all of these are probably like similar qualities to where you are as well, which is New Orleans, right?
Yeah, but I mean, there's still like a lot of outdoor activities that you can go do, like a lot of like fishing in the woods, not too far away. But yeah, I mean, whenever you're in the city, you definitely don't need a car. Everything's pretty damn close. Yeah. Yeah,
it's basically just Bourbon Street and what's the other one? Frederick or Frankston or some shit.
Frenchman.
Frenchman.
Yeah.
This one.
Yeah, Frenchman. Frenchmans or Frenchmans, as some people like to say.
Yeah. So does everyone kind of just live around like those two streets?
No, I mean, but I feel like everything kind of revolves around them. You know what I mean? Like everything kind of revolves around the quarter, like Canal, Bourbons, like everything just goes. I feel like, honestly, the casino is just like everything revolves around that bitch. And it just, spreads out. And like I said, dude, whenever I'm downtown, dude, I'll Uber downtown, and everywhere I need to go, I'm either walking or biking. So that's really nice. Yep.
Yeah, so it's kind of
go ahead.
Similar in San Francisco, but I guess instead of stuff just revolving around like two streets and another thing, it's like there's just like sectors kind of like, there's a bunch of shit that revolves around Golden Gate Park, I feel like, and then a bunch of shit that revolves around like the city and like the financial district, and then a bunch of shit that sort of revolves around, I guess, like the piers, like the Embarcadero and all that sort of stuff, and like where Alcatraz is. And then the Golden Gate Bridge is fucking awesome, man. Like riding across that on a bike is super fun. Speaking of outdoor activities, I've recently gotten super into mountain biking.
Hell yeah! I was actually gonna see if you've gotten into anything new since being there.
Yeah, that is one thing I've been just getting into a lot lately. Do you do anything like that?
Yeah, I bike. I don't do like no mountain biking. I have like this. The bike I have is fucking horrible. It's like from the 50s or 60s, but I got it for free. And like I feel like the tire like is loose on it, and so it's got like zero shocks on it. So any bump I hit, bro, my ass gets raw on it. But it is a good thing. I feel like if I do like 5 or 6 mile ride on the bike, I feel like I've actually gotten a lot more because it's a really hard bike to ride, so it makes you work a little harder. But I've been getting into that, and it's been a lot of fun.
Nice. Do you know of a DJ or a producer called Matt the Alien?
Sounds really familiar. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't on my radar until yesterday, but somebody posted a link in my Facebook group where he apparently just had a mountain biking accident and is now paralyzed from the chest down, which sucks. So if anyone's listening and wants to go donate to his GoFundMe, if they're a fan of him, then that's a thing they can do.
Yeah, man, that's
so
crazy.
it was weird because like I just got into mountain biking, and I'm literally like watching tons of videos on YouTube about mountain biking and like looking at the forums and shit, and then somebody like posts this, and I'm like, damn, it's like instant wake up call sort of thing.
Dude, I had almost the same experience. Me and G-Rex were doing like this meet and greet giveaway whenever we released Dweller. And the guy who won it, he was like up in some snowy mountains. And I was like, man, do you ever snowboard? And I didn't find out that the guy was actually paralyzed from snowboarding. And I was just like, oh, fuck. Well.
Damn.
Yeah, very similar. Very
Crazy.
similar. Is there a lot of mountains by you, though? Or are you just like, hitting like some little hills?
No, dude, San Francisco is like full of crazy big hills, but that's not where I ride. There's if you go across the bridge, there's a place called Marin County. Or Marin, whatever. And then there's another place called Sonoma. And then, down south there's Santa Cruz and stuff like that. And there's mountains in all of those places. So within like anywhere from a 20-minute drive to a 1.5 hour drive out of San Francisco, you can get to some pretty awesome mountains.
Hell yeah. So you said they were in, like, everything is kind of like in sections, right? So it's like, are there like these little gangs inside, like we the Bridge Boys, you know what I'm saying? Golden Boys. And then you got like the Park Boys, young Park Apparatus, you know what I'm saying? That you don't want to fuck with. Hey, you on my park after 5, son? Back up. Have you seen any of them?
No, but I do feel like people who live in certain areas kind of think that their area is the best. Like, everyone who lives down in like Soma and the Mission thinks that that's the coolest shit. And like anyone who lives sort of near Golden Gate Park thinks that that's the coolest shit, and so on and so forth.
That's pretty much anybody in Philly.
Right.
Anybody in Philly. You're on one side of Philly, they don't fuck with you, dog.
Huh. Yeah, weird. I haven't spent a lot of time in Philly, but I wouldn't mind spending more time there for sure. I've heard a lot of good things, and I got a lot of friends that live there.
See, I respect Philly fans as far as their sports teams, because like the Philadelphia Eagles fans, they're like the rudest fan base on the planet, and they're just terrible, but they know it, and so they have honor, they have honor, integrity about it. So I respect them. Like, I know last time I was in Philly, I was talking about how the Eagles fans are assholes, and this guy was like, hey, and I was like, bro, don't act like you don't know it. And he goes, you right.
Which sport is that for?
A football, but I mean, they're probably their baseball. I forget their baseball team. I ain't the biggest baseball fan.
But
Philly,
you're big on football?
Giant, dude. Giant, bro.
Cool.
I'll catch every game if I can. That's actually one of the good things about not touring right now, is I've been able to watch every single game, or any game I've wanted to watch.
What's your favorite team?
New Orleans Saints, baby.
Nice.
Hell
I don't know.
yeah.
I have to Google them quickly and see what they look like.
Oh, they look like angels falling from the sky, dude,
New Orleans Saints, you say?
Looks like they were crafted by Jesus himself.
Oh, yeah, they have
whenever they were making the arm of a god, they put it on a man called Drew Brees. Everybody listen to this podcast, he's not a Saints fan, like, man, fuck you.
Man, yeah, this team looks jacked.
Oh, yeah.
They look like very manly men.
Jacked up on the Lord. I don't know. Dude, so do you feel like you're a little happier being out there in San Fran, dude? A lot more sunshine, I reckon.
Honestly, it's less sunshine than Denver, but I kind of like that. I like the So San Francisco is weird, right? It doesn't really have seasons. Like it doesn't. I don't know if you like know this about Asia, but they kind of just have two seasons, right? It's like hot and not, or hot and wet. I think like they have a hot
It's
season and
pretty
a wet
much here in
season.
New Orleans almost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pretty much, I guess. So San Francisco is kind of like that, but it's sort of weird. There's like microclimates here, so like certain areas of the city will be sunny, and other areas will be like foggy, and other areas will be like raining and overcast, and it's sort of weird because it's such a small city. It's like I don't know exactly geographically how big, but like I don't know, let's say like 20 kilometers across and 20 kilometers up and down or something. It's like not that big, but
How big is a
yeah,
kilometer to a mile?
1.6 kilometers equals 1 mile.
Rock and roll. All right, bet.
Yeah. So I don't know, like 15 by something. I would have to look that up. But anyway, yeah, it's weird. Like all year round, even in the summer or in the winter, just like any time at all, it's basically just like 70 degrees or like 60 degrees. It's kind of like in that range sort of all the time.
That's where I want to be.
Yeah, it's
I
great.
want to be in
And
that weather. Yeah, hell yeah.
yeah, if you just have like a hoodie, you're basically good all year round.
Yeah, hoodie weather's my favorite because it's like you don't have to have a hoodie on. You know what I'm saying? You could if you wanted to. You don't have to have jeans on, but you can. I like that where
Exactly,
you
yeah.
it's just up to you.
That's kind of how San Francisco is. Yeah, it's like if you want to wear jeans, you can. You won't get super hot if you do, but like you're not going to get super cold if you don't. So yeah, it's pretty
Hell
cool.
yeah, dude.
I
Just
like
how,
that about it. Sorry, go on.
you go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say to answer your question though, I think I am a lot happier here. I think I've been, and this might have something to do with COVID, but I think I've been more active than I've ever been, and I think I've been like going outside more than I ever have, and just doing a lot of stuff that feels healthy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been good.
Feel like you've been taking a step back from music a little bit just to enjoy life a little bit more.
So a little bit, but also having said that, I've also been doing a lot of music. So I, at the start of quarantine, was just like hammering out whips like every day basically, or every other day. And I just kind of did that for like most of the quarantine up until like maybe a week or two ago. And I don't know, like I just was making content, but with no real goal. And eventually I kind of just got to this point where I was like, I don't know, I feel like I'm just making shit and I'm not releasing any of it. I don't have a plan for like an album or an EP or anything like that. I'm just making tunes. So the last week I went through like all of my project file folders and put them all in a spreadsheet and like organized them all by tempo and key and like wrote notes about all of them and stuff like that. Yeah, I can show this to you. I don't know if people will get this when they watch the podcast, but I can kind of show you what this sheet looks like.
They might do
And,
if it comes up on the screen.
I'm gonna screen share so you'll see it.
Then yeah, they'll see it. They'll see it for sure.
Okay. Oh, great, perfect. All right, so can you see that?
Yup.
Yeah, so this is the spreadsheet I made with all the whips.
Holy shit, those are all whips that you made just during COVID.
Not during COVID. This is like over the last couple of years. But like, I mean, these ones, all these green ones here are pretty much all ones that I made during COVID.
That's a lot of fucking songs, bro.
Yeah. So that's, I was making a lot, but I wasn't like finishing anything and I wasn't like working towards any sort of releases or anything. So I did that and put that spreadsheet together. And then I sort of spent like the last few days organizing everything by genre. And now I just have like folders. I have like a huge folder of dubstep that I'm making, a huge folder of like down tempo IDM that I'm making, a huge folder of like drum and bass and so on and so forth. So now I kind of have like, it feels like I have more goals.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to make a drum and bass release, and then I'm going to make like a garage release, and then I'm going to make like an IDM album and so on, so forth. So, so yeah, it feels like I've been taking a step back from music because I've just been doing that for the last few weeks and not particularly writing that much.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was something I feel like I had to do to work more productively, and I feel like now I can work more productively.
Hell yeah. Do you feel like you're actually more productive whenever you have a goal? You said like, I'm not writing an album, just making tunes. Like I find it like this is my first time I've ever been in a situation where I'm writing for an album, and it's a little different because I feel like when I'm trying to make something for something, I can't create anything. But is it complete opposite for you?
Sort of. I feel like if I have a goal and like a deadline, I work better than
Hmm.
if I don't. Like if it's just open ended, I'll just not do it, right? It's kind of like that. I can't remember what it's called. It's like some phenomena or theory or something where it's like government projects, however much money they like allot to do that project is how much money it will take to do it. Like for instance, if they allot like $1 million to build a bridge, the bridge will cost $1 million to make. But if they allotted $1.2 million to the bridge, they would still use all $1.2 million to make the bridge, right? Or if they allotted $700,000, they would just spend all $700,000 on the bridge. So I kind of feel that way about music. It's like if I allot an infinite amount of time to it, I'll just use an infinite amount of time on that track,
Yeah.
and I just won't finish it.
It's like
So
whenever like I buy like a 12 pack of beer, I was like, I have to drink this beer.
right, yeah, that's a good analogy.
No, I actually I have a deadline on my board behind me. So I started on a comedy album a few months back. I think like right whenever you and I started talking, and I'm trying to finish
Comedy
it by the end
album.
of the year. So that's like the first time I've put myself like on a like a personal deadline.
What's a comedy out? Like it's just spoken word, you telling
No, no, no,
jokes?
no. It's like very musical. It's like a little dicky, but like a lot of different genres in it. Like a lot of hip hop. I just did a country song for it. There's like an acoustic song. So like I'm finding it's like honestly the hardest thing I've ever done musically, because it's like I'm having to create these genres and I'm having to make a song funny, but not funny, but like also very well produced. Like if I'm gonna make a country song, I want it to sound like an actual country song you might hear on the radio, right? So it's like I'm having a lot of fun doing it because I've just been doing other things that I normally don't do. But then it's like also like it's shown me how far I've come in production to where I can make something like that and it sound really fucking good. So it's been
Yeah.
a blast, honestly.
Yeah, you don't want to like do something ironically, but then also do it badly, right? Because then it's sort
Right.
of like, then it can be misconstrued as like you just didn't know what you're doing or didn't know how to
Right.
do it, and therefore it kind of like loses some of the funniness. Whereas if it's like executed perfectly, then people can like, I don't know, maybe people will see it as like more self-aware or whatever.
Right. It's like have you heard that it's like a Hobson track. It's like no words. And he's literally not saying words, but it's over like this fire ass beat and he's just going but like people are still fucking with it because it's very well done. Have you heard that one?
Who's it by?
Hobson?
Hobson? No, I've never even heard of Hobson.
Oh, he's dope, bro. He's like he's like that strange music like a that
What's
strange
the song
music.
called?
No
Hobson.
words. I think that's
No
what it's
words.
called.
Cool. I'll check it out after. Oh, yeah. No Words 2 featuring Hash Brown.
Okay, no, you need to hear the first one.
There's No Words 1.
Oh yeah.
Okay. No. Oh
That's
yeah.
what,
Hobson No Words skit. All right. Cool. Yeah. I'll check this out after the podcast.
hell yeah. You'll have a good laugh at it. But it's just so well done that you can't deny that it's not a good song, even though it's just dumb as hell.
Right. Yeah. Nice.
So how long you been producing for? Because you're a guy who I feel like has been in this scene for a very long time.
Yeah, I've been in the bass music scene really from the start, because I mean bass music started like after I started producing. So I guess I've been like, it depends if you count bass music as dubstep, because that started before I started producing. But I started producing, I would say, full time in 2006 or 2007, where Ableton was only on version 4, and I was like, that's when, yeah, about 2006, 2007. So I was about 18 or something like that. And that's when I was like, that's when I started using Ableton every day for like many hours a day. But before that, I was using GarageBand. And before that, I was like messing around with other stuff like Fruity Loops and just like random, like there was this thing that I could hire from my school. It was like this little 4-track Boss multi-track recorder thing, and they would let me bring it home all the time. So I'd always bring it home and then just like record shit with a microphone. It was just like a looper, and I'd
Yeah.
try and make tracks on that, and then like basically record it to a cassette, and then I'd be like, sick, I made a tune on a cassette. It's like they were garbage tunes, but it was like, yeah, I've always just kind of been interested in that sort of stuff. And before that, I played guitar for like many hours a day, and yeah, like I've probably put in thousands of hours on guitar collectively as well, from just like playing through my teen years. And I had delay pedals and stuff, and I would like do a lot of looping with those and stuff like that. So I've always been interested in layering stuff together to make, finished sounding pieces of music out of it. But yeah, I would say like seriously, I started producing in like 2007 or so. So yeah, not too long ago, like 13 years,
It's a
which
pretty
is I
long
guess
time though. It's a pretty long time.
yeah, it's a while for sure. And I would say like I started touring pretty heavily in 2012. Like that was when I kind of was like on a yearly basis doing 30 to 50 shows or more.
Damn. So how does one who's been in the scene that long, touring that long, how does one stay interested in it? Like stay like keeping yourself interested and stuff like that, and just keeping yourself inspired.
Yeah, that's a great question. I I mean, generally, you just can't do the same thing, right? Like, you always have to, if you, I don't understand how people can do what seems to me like almost the same thing for like 10 to 20 years or something like that. And yeah, I think the key is to just find new stuff and also never stop learning. I feel like when you stop learning new techniques or when you stop like for instance, there's so much I still don't know about production and sound design and music theory. My knowledge is crap on that. So it's like there's always new shit to learn, and I always feel like as soon as I start learning a new thing, I instantly get inspired again because I'm like, oh cool, it's a new technique I could use to make a whole song just out of that technique.
Mm.
So I'd say that's a good way, and also just experimenting with genres a lot. Like, don't just make dubstep for 20 years straight because you'll burn out for sure. And you see
Yeah.
that with most artists, right? It's like Scream, even the OG dubstep guy, he makes disco now, or like you see bands like who will get big off their first album or whatever, and then they'll just kind of switch it up and start messing around with different genres and stuff in their later albums, and then all their fans will get pissed off at them. But I mean, it's necessary if you're gonna have a 3 to 4. If you're planning to have like a multi-decade career in music, then yeah, you need to keep it interesting for yourself, and fans I think need to understand that.
Yeah, fans can sometimes be a little butthurt whenever you try to switch it up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they like will try and misconstrue it as like you're selling out or like that you're, I don't know,
I mean, look what
some other
happened with Getter,
bullshit.
man. That was a fucking prime example. Like,
That was
watching
the
it real
worst
time.
case.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was super bad. Where he just tried to make like a hip hop album basically, and then just got booed off stage every night.
it's not like a hip hop album. It was kind of like it had hip hop influence. It was like a flumy, hip hoppy, future bassy. It was really good. Like it was really
Mm.
creative and really original. I feel like, and I think the thing was people would go to a Getter show expecting like dubstep and shit, and then it
Mm.
just get really pissed off and go on Twitter.
Yeah. Then again, though, I think if you like foster a fan base in the way that he did by just like releasing on Owsla, doing stuff with Skrillex, playing all of the dubstep clubs all over and over again for years. Every release he'd put out up until that point was dubstep. Like there's a reason why people thought the show was going to be dubstep. Like it wasn't like that was unfounded. But yeah, it sucks that the majority of the fan base just weren't open enough to hearing different stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like it was the minority that was like that. I feel like the majority of the people who went to go see the tour were pleased, were satisfied. I was, and all the people I talked to, probably about 95% of them were all about that tour. And then I think it
Mm.
was just maybe he was focusing too much on the negatives and not the positives. I don't know. I don't know what he was focusing on, but that's just my
Yeah.
outside looking in, maybe.
I mean, that's easy to do, right? Like if there's 50 people on the rail in front of you dancing and then one person's just sitting there on their phone on the rail staring, it's hard to not concentrate on that person, right? But
No, and
then
actually, that's a
again,
very good point.
I always I always try to remember that these things are usually the minority, especially online, right? Like people who leave those hateful comments or people who are like the loudest on online, even if it's positive, like, people asking you to press vinyls and shit. It's like these people who are like loud online all the time, whether it be good or bad, are the minority for sure. Like most people just will not ever message you. Most of your fans that like your music and have heard your music will just never send you a message ever.
Yeah,
You won't hear
that's
from most of them.
Yeah, that's actually a good point, man. I'll call out that one person on the rail, bro. I've stopped the music and called a motherfucker out before, dog.
So what's the problem with that? Because like I mean, I understand it. Like it gives you a little bit of anxiety as a performer while you're up there, because you're like, the thing is the only way that you can tell if somebody's enjoying the music from stage is if they're dancing, right? That's like the only way that the only like outward expression that you could possibly sort of almost 100% guarantee that they're enjoying the music. Whereas if they're not dancing, then it's kind of like a 50-50 on whether or not they're enjoying it, because they could just be enjoying it like in their head.
Well, I've called a guy out who was literally like, it was a stage where it was like, this is the DJ booth, right? This table, and then like there's no barrier. It's just like that right there, and a guy's head's just on it on the booth, just like this, just fucking. So yeah, I'm gonna call that out. You feel me? Like, dog, what are you doing? Everyone's trying to have a good time up front, and here you are sleeping.
Well, who was playing after you?
Lucid. It was on the Double Vision tour. Yeah.
So you think he was just like a Lucid fan, or?
Nah, dude, I think he might have just been fucked up or tired.
Yeah, fair enough.
Honestly.
Yeah, because I mean, I've heard about people doing that, specifically really bad at Bass Nectar concerts, where just all the openers, basically, people would just be like, oh, fucking like snooze fest. And then as soon as Bass Nectar comes on, it's raging.
Well, these other DJs and people don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, that will not happen anymore.
No, man. Yeah, I mean, like, that's actually a good point, though. It is easy to focus on that one person. Just so, I'd like to think, you don't have a lot of haters, do you? Because I feel like you're a guy who's pretty much not on the internet a lot. I feel like you're not like a very social media guy. Am I wrong to say that?
I would say I'm like a fairly social media guy. Lately, I have not been, but I mean, like I've been running a Discord server since like early 2016, and I've like, I've been streaming on Twitch since 2014. So it's like, and I have like social media accounts and everything, and I post on them. I would say like on a bi-weekly basis, no, on like twice a week or something like that. Yeah, I would say like I'm somewhat active on social media. I'm definitely not as active as like some people whose stories on Instagram every day will be like 150 fucking things, and like the little line on the top of their story just looks like a pixel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not at that level for sure. But if I think of something, I'll post it. Like for instance, I tweeted earlier today saying like talking about how I got a flu shot. I was like, wow, that shit was like super painless. Man, I was stressing hard about getting this flu shot. Because I don't know, like you'd think I wouldn't be like scared of needles because
you got a nose ring.
Yeah, exactly. And the funny thing is, I'm not scared of piercings or tattoos, but shots at the doctor get me. And I think it's because one time I had some, and then I like had a seizure in the waiting room after I had the shot. So I kind of am like paranoid about that. So there's that. But then also just like, I don't know, I think because when I was a kid, I had some shots and they probably hurt a lot or something. And then, my memory of those are still very present. And it's like early on trauma sticks around or something. So, so I was stressing about that. But I went to get the flu shot, and it was fucking awesome because it was a drive-through because of like COVID or whatever. So you just drive through, sit in your car, and they just like put their arm in and just give you the shot.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, she kind of just like grabbed my skin, and then it just felt like somebody like touched me. I didn't even feel like a pinch or a spike feeling or like any burn or nothing. Like the sensation was literally just somebody touching my skin. And then she put the Band-Aid on. I was like, what the fuck did you do? It's like, did that just happen? And she was like, yep. And I was like, cool. So yeah, I tweeted about that today.
Do you think there's people out there who have like a fetish of getting shots, dude? Like that's their thing. That's what gets them
I think
off.
there's somebody out there who has a fetish about anything you can think of. Like not one person that has a fetish of everything you can think of, but like one person for every fetish you can think of. Yes, I do think there's somebody who probably has a fetish for getting shots.
That'd be a fucking weird fetish,
dude,
man.
I feel like there's probably somebody who can't come unless they wake up during surgery.
Oh my god.
I guarantee you that person exists.
Jesus, man, that's awesome. That's not awesome. God damn. You're like breaking your own arms, like on purpose, dude. Like you're like,
so
I need
surgery.
Any type of surgery, dude. Like, like arm hair removal. And then, the doctor's just ignoring your giant tent.
It's like that episode of Black Mirror. Have you seen that one where the guy gets the earpiece thing, and when he puts it in, he can like feel
Oh yeah,
the
the
feelings of
game.
like other people or whatever. So like, he finds out that like having sex with his wife or whatever, not only is he having his own orgasm, but he's also having hers at the same time. And then he just gets like way too fetishized about these like dopamine hits he's getting from it or whatever, and just starts doing weird shit like pulling his own teeth out and stuff to like
Yeah,
get
I've
these
seen
like
that
incredible
episode.
feedback loops of pain or something.
It's been a minute. Did you see that episode where it's like they're like Mortal Kombat or like Street Fighter, and then him and his best friend are playing, and then they end up fucking in the game?
No, I don't remember that one.
That's a good time, dude. If I could fuck in a game in real life, probably do it.
But then you
You know
wouldn't
what
be
I'm
in
saying?
real life, right? Because you'd be in the game.
Well, like they were still getting off. You know what I'm saying? Like you still have the sensual things, or was that the right
Oh,
word
dude,
for it?
I think that'll be maybe possible soon with the Neuralink things.
Yeah.
Did you see that shit? The
Yeah.
Elon Musk's Neuralink.
Man's a
Dude.
madman.
Yeah, he's driven. Yeah, I think that would eventually be possible because, like, I mean, really, what probably causes you to have an orgasm is brain related, like anything, right? So maybe when you get one of those, there'll just be like a orgasm button. You can just like log yourself into VR or something and just like ping the button right at
I'm
the
all
correct
about it, dude.
moment.
There's gonna be a lot less babies though, for real. I think there'll be a lot less babies.
If people have Neuralinks,
Oh yeah.
why? What makes
Well,
you think that?
Cause you can just come on your own. All right, right? So
But you can do that now. And people are still having babies.
all right, you got me
Actually,
on this one,
probably
Mr.
having
Bill.
too many.
You got me on that one, bro. Yeah, I guess you're right, man. But look, dude, maybe in 10 years we'll be doing a podcast episode and not even talking to each other. We'll just be linking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just like, yeah, Lincoln.
Linking.
Yeah. Nice.
That'd be-
yeah,
that'd
it's
be
possible.
You gonna get it whenever they come to, whenever they're available to the public?
So I probably wouldn't get version 1. I'd probably wait until there are a few versions in because I feel like, for starters, there's probably going to be like security flaws with them to begin
Yeah.
with. Like any software that gets released originally, somebody finds a way to hack it or something. So I feel like a bunch of people are going to get their brains hacked probably.
And they're just walking around, kill John Lennon, kill
Yeah,
John
exactly.
Lennon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just,
Yeah,
Oh,
I'd
your
probably
camera went out.
end up getting a Neuralink at some point, bro. I want to download Spanish. I've always wanted to know how to speak Spanish. What would be the first thing you downloaded in that brain?
oh, that's a good point. Yeah. If you could just download a second language, or if you could just download every language, that'd be awesome. Like if the Neuralink just allowed you to speak like Russian all of a sudden.
Yeah,
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, that's a good point.
it's like Matrix. That's what I'm thinking is like the Matrix. You just download that language. What would be the first thing you download into your brain?
Oh man, it's hard to say. I'd probably listen to music first because it'd be really like you would hear music so clearly if you could just pump it straight into your brain, right? Because I mean, really, the bottleneck is your biology of your ears and stuff like that.
Damn.
So that could
Would
be
you hear it
cool.
though? Like that's,
Yeah, music does not occur in the ear; it occurs in the brain.
that's crazy.
Yeah, the ear is just like a mechanism to. It's basically like a microphone, right?
Send
like
frequencies through.
Yeah, you put sound pressure into it, it vibrates some small bones, which then connect to some nerves, which create electromagnetic signals or, well, some kind of electrical signals, and then sends it to your brain.
That's crazy. Yeah, I guess you might feel the low end or hear the low end a lot better. I don't know. That's crazy to think about, dude. That's really crazy.
would-
Maybe you download Ableton into your brain and you can just like, link Ableton with your computer and you just think a song.
Yeah, if you could just have like DAWs in your brain, that'd be pretty cool. I also think if it could like help you with sleep and you could just like have, a perfect 8 hours sleep every night, I think that would change shit a lot. And I also
yeah.
think if you could just like force yourself to pass out on planes, that would also be pretty cool.
That's what I struggle with the most. I feel like is like sleeping and a good sleeping schedule, bro. I'll get in bed and I just cannot sleep unless I eat like melatonin and jerk off. That's like the only recipe that works.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I've been historically pretty bad at sleeping, but lately I've been decent. I've been using magnesium and apparently that helps with sleep. And I've been like trying not to drink coffee after midday, and I've been exercising more and trying to like eat meals at sort of regular times and trying to stop using my computer at like 10 or 11 p.m. Stuff like that, and trying to like not have my phone next to the bed sometimes. And yeah, I've tried a bunch of shit, and I feel like I've kind of like half figured out my sleep now. Now I kind of go to sleep, it seems like, at around like midnight to 2 a.m. and then I generally wake up around like 9, 10 a.m., which is probably like the cleanest my sleeping has ever been. Because usually, I mean, it's crazy. At some points I've had this schedule of like going to sleep at 6 a.m. and waking up at 6 p.m. kind of thing, which
Damn.
is horrible.
Would you be a more morning person? Like, would you wake up even earlier if you could go to bed earlier, or do you like the
Yeah,
schedule
I
you're
think
at?
I think yeah, I would. I think my ideal schedule, if I could just like make it happen with a Neuralink, for instance, would probably be just like pass out directly at midnight on the dot and wake up directly at 8 a.m. on the dot.
Yeah.
I think that would be like a perfect 8-hour window to sleep in.
I've actually like the best sleeping schedule I've had in a while, just because I've been on a healthy schedule and just I was up at 6:30 this morning, just up fucking dancing. I like to dance.
Nice.
In the
Well,
morning
also
times.
like not touring helps with that a lot too, right? Because
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you're touring, your sleep schedule just goes out the window because you get to a city, you pretty much have to go like to the venue, sound check. You might go to the hotel and get like a 1 hour nap in then, and then you go to the venue and play the show, and then you go back to the hotel and sleep for like 2 hours, and then you got to get on a plane, and then you get like some shitty sleep on the plane, and then you do the same thing again in the next city where you get like a 1 hour nap at the hotel again, and so on and so forth. And then when you get back on like Sunday night or Monday or something, you just need to fucking sleep for like 2 days to reset.
Yep. Yeah, and it's very true, man. Do you miss that tour life, or are you happy having this? Have you found a way to stay afloat without being on tour right now?
Yeah, definitely I'm fine financially, but I miss traveling. Like I miss going to new places and hanging out with people and seeing friends that live in all those places, and just meeting new people and stuff like that. I miss all that stuff, and obviously playing shows too. That's something I miss a bit. I'm playing a show soon actually, at this place called the Midway, which is in San Francisco. I'm playing that show on October. I shouldn't mess this date up because if anyone's listening and wants to come, man, I don't even have it in my.
Is it like a
calendar.
drive-in
That's
or
not-
like a just an actual show?
It's an actual show, but it's outside.
Hell yeah.
In the like, okay, so it is October 15, so it's pretty close. It's like next week, I think.
Hell yeah. I got
Yeah, totally.
how do you feel about like these venue shows right now, man? Because I got in a fight today with the guy on Twitter because I think it was like Company was asking how people felt about these limited capacity shows, and I had tweeted that, and I was like, honestly, if you're going to a show, it's because you're old enough to make adult decisions, and so you should, if you're going, it's because you're old enough to you're an adult and you can make your own decisions, and if you don't
Yeah, but
if you don't want to
let's
go,
be
then stay
real,
your ass
like-
at home.
Sure, but I mean, like, let's be real. Not all adults make good decisions.
That's true.
Just because you're an adult doesn't mean your decisions are good.
That's true, but it's an adult decision. Even if it's a bad decision, it was an adult making an adult decision.
Yeah, that's true. But I guess my problem with shows is just that, like, if let's say like 50 people go to a show, one of them has COVID, gives it to the other 49 people. Well, then there's 50 people that have COVID who can then give it to another couple of people, right? And it just like snowballs. Whereas if that show hadn't happened, it seems like it's only a problem for the 50 people that went to the show, but it really could perpetuate into like thousands of cases. And that's kind of the problem I have with it, is that it seems unnecessarily risky for just like a dubstep show. But it depends, right? Like, because I mean, the one that I'm doing, I think is fairly low risk for everyone involved because it's outside. Masks are obviously mandatory. I think temperatures are checked at the door. Someone's going around sanitizing stuff constantly. Social distancing, like no tables are close to each other. Stuff like that. So, I mean, I think it can be done safely. Like, I think the drive-in ones are pretty safe. And I think some of the limited capacity indoor ones could potentially be safe, but I'm actually not sure if the cases have been going up from the from shows. So yeah, I haven't actually looked at that. So it might actually not be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think majority of the shows right now have some type of safety precaution, in place to where it's like, only 25 to 50% capacity. There's distancing, temperatures are checked. I'm cool with all of that shit. You know what I mean? And like all that stuff you just said. Like if there's anything like that, let's have a show, bro. Let's make these venues some money. Let's make sure that these venues don't shut down. I saw yesterday U Street Music Hall in DC shut down its doors for good.
Wow.
And like Lizard Lounge also did. A lot of places have shut their doors for good, and it sucks, man. So yeah, I'm all about shows happening right now, just for so businesses can stay afloat, man.
I agree. I'm like on the fence, right? Because on one hand, I'm like, let's try and stop this whole. Dude, I have to block this guy on Discord because he's just fucking messaging me constantly, and I'm trying to have a conversation. Block, sweet. So yeah, like on one hand, I feel like I want to help businesses, right? So yes, I think shows like to some degree should be happening because it sucks that like U Street Music Hall in DC had to close down for good, right? Because that was an old school venue. It's been around forever, and it's like an amazing venue. It's horrible that they couldn't afford to keep running. And post COVID, it's going to be a pretty different world if that keeps happening and all the venues shut. So so there's that side of things where yes, I agree, like economically and logistically we need to look after venues, but also it's like seems a little short-sighted because if we do that, then the venues are just going to be shut for longer anyway, or at least running at limited capacity for longer because the virus will still be running rampant.
Yeah, that's a point. But yeah, man. So this was a podcast. Actually, I'm trying to shift gears a little bit away from the COVID shit because I'm sure everyone's heard this shit a million times, bro. but this is a podcast episode that people have been suggesting having you on the show, man. Because we're both podcasters ourselves, man. I've been seeing that you've been having like a lot of people on who actually, other people that don't do music. Like I saw you had someone from not music, bass music. Like you had like somebody from what orchestra, and then you had somebody from DreamWorks, if I'm right. Like,
oh yeah, I had Jordan Rudis from Dream Theater on, which was cool. And I had Misha Mansour from Periphery, a metal band, on.
Oh, I love Periphery. Yeah, they're fucking awesome.
Yeah, Misha's awesome. He's a great dude. So yeah, I've had a few different people on who are not just in the bass music scene.
Do you find it harder to get people who aren't in the bass music scene onto the podcast?
Kinda, yeah. Like for instance, there was this professional gamer the other day who I don't think he didn't like reach out to me, but somebody asked him on my behalf not on my behalf, I didn't actually even give a shit, but like somebody asked him if he would go on my podcast, and he said yes, but only for $1,000. I was like, I'm not gonna fucking pay anyone $1,000 to have a conversation with me. So there's that kind of stuff happens, I guess, but also yeah, I do think it is a little harder to get people on who are not in the bass music scene just because they don't know me and stuff, right? But also, having said that, there's been a bunch of people in the bass music scene who have turned my podcast down because they're just like too protective of like the way that they present themselves publicly. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's important. Like you have to make sure your brand looks good and coherent, and that your optics are good and you're not looking like an asshole and shit like that. That is important. But I mean, if you can't have a conversation publicly with someone without looking like an asshole, then maybe you're an asshole.
Yeah, dude, I've had the same experience. I did an episode with Sullivan King, and then we did the episode, and then after the episode, we recorded it. He asked me if his team reached out and said they didn't want to put it out because that's not the direction they're going in. And I was like, "Fuck, man, do you not like talking?" Or I might have been too much. Honestly, it might have been because of me. It could have been on me. Just because I was
talking is not in the direction we're going in right now. We're all becoming mutes.
Yeah, so right. So I was confused by that, and honestly, it could have been some things that I said because I made a couple jokes, and he didn't know who I was just yet. Whenever we did it, this was like in February. We actually sat down face and face and did it. and like he didn't know me very well, so I was like making jokes, and I don't know if those were, he just didn't know that I was joking sometimes. But it could have been on me, but also it could have just been like, yo, this ain't something we want to do. And I've had a lot of people, just turn me down too, just because yeah, like exactly what we said, because they're just like that's not their thing. Like they're very, they're not a very talkative person to begin with, and their project isn't them speaking about or opinions or anything like that.
Yeah, electronic musicians in like the EDM, dubstep, bass music scene are just so fucking particular about so much shit. They I think take it way too seriously a lot of the time. Because I mean, at the end of the day, you're making beats in your bedroom, probably in your underpants half the time. Like it's not that important.
It's not, dude, and we're all just fucking people, man. And like, I like talking about people's journeys. Like that's one of my things I really enjoy talking to about. So actually, what I wanted to bring up to you, man. So did you move to America to do music? Was that like your thing?
Yeah, so I was in Australia before that, and then it kind of just got to the point where I was flying here like a few times a year to do shows. And the problem with flying here to do shows is, touring often is not just like a string of like 30 shows in a row and then you're done and you go home, right? For some people it is, but for me it wasn't. It was more just like I would come here and do like 2 shows on a weekend and then 2 shows the next weekend, and then maybe I'd have a weekend with no shows. So I'd have like almost 14 days off from, the following weekend to the one after that. And when I would have something like 14 days off, I would either just have to blow a bunch of cash on hotels or stay on like someone's couch or whatever. And it was generally like, I felt like I was impeding or impinging on their space. And, I just felt like I was causing people like, I don't know, like I didn't feel good about having to do either of those things, like blow a bunch of cash on hotels or stay with people. So I figured I would just like move here, and then that would solve that problem. And then also once I moved here, I was like, well, then I could kind of just be like doing shows constantly. I wouldn't even have to like organize just a few months a year to do them. So then I kind of like thought logistically or financially it made sense as well, because I was like, I always make like a bit of money on tour. So I was like, if I'm just doing that all year, then I'll make more money probably. So it just made more sense for me to live here, I think, than Australia. And yeah, I think it was a good decision.
Was it a hard thing to like, move away from, just about everybody you knew and your family and stuff like that? And also, is it hard getting into America to work? Like, they make that shit hard to do?
Yes, they do. They make it way harder now than it was when I started doing it. I think just because the Trump administration is like, I don't know, not into immigrants. But it's so basically what you need to do is go through a visa process. And for an artist like me, you have to get a very specific visa. It's called an O1 visa, which the title of it is Alien of Extraordinary Ability.
Sick.
Pretty cool title. But
that's a really cool title.
Yeah, it's pretty pretentious.
Sounds like an album name.
Yeah, totally. Just name my next album Alien of Extraordinary Ability.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so you have to get one of those. The process is pretty hard. A lot of people get turned down. You have to go for interviews and you have to pay like a bunch of money. And yeah, it's a pain in the ass to get one. But once you get one, then yeah, you can just come in and out as much as you want and play shows and work here. So yeah, that's cool. I'm actually going for a green card at the moment because my visa's about to run out. So hopefully I get that. And then that one it's harder to get. It's more expensive to get. The process is way more intense. And the thing is, though, it doesn't last 3 years. It lasts 10. So if I can get that one, I'll be good for the next 10 years, which will be awesome. So fingers crossed.
Is it possible to get citizenship just like full on?
Yeah, so generally when people get the green card one, the one that I'm going for now, that's sort of like the path to citizenship. They'll stay here for, however long, 5-10 years or something like that, and then sort of apply for citizenship after they've been a permanent resident for a while. And then I think you just have to do like a test and prove that you've been living here for a while. And yeah, there's a few requirements.
Hell yeah. Was it hard moving away from your family? I feel like that would be the hardest part for me, is moving away from my family.
Yeah, so I don't actually get along with my family that well, so that wasn't really that hard for me. I like my family, and but the thing is like seeing them for one day a year is like good. I'm fine with that. Like that's plenty enough of my family for me to see. But but my friends, I miss my friends a lot. Like I had a lot of good friends
Yeah.
in Melbourne where I was living when I moved, and I have a lot of good friends in Sydney. Not being able to see them a lot is, I mean, it's been, honestly, it's been fine because I go back to Australia like once a year anyway and see them all, so it's fine. And I got a lot of friends here now too, so that's cool. But I mean, during the COVID shit anyway, it's like no one can see anyone regardless, so it hasn't been a problem either way. Or it's like, it hasn't been a solvable problem, at least for the last like 8 months anyway.
Yeah. Whenever you like, because you got that Australian accent, dude, did that help you get your old lady, bro? Did the chicks dig it? Do they still dig it?
So I don't think my Australian accent is that thick anymore because I've been living here for about 5 years. It's funny, if I watch my old YouTube videos, like the first tutorials I put out on YouTube, I sound like a fucking bogan. I'm just like, oh, g'day, mate. It's Mr. Bill here with another Ableton tutorial. Just gonna show you how to throw your fucking compressor up here and put an EQ on that and fucking Bob's your uncle, mate. It's just like the most bogan shit. And I was like, how did anyone take me seriously as an educator? With
Dude,
that
I love
accent?
a good Australian accent, dude. I feel like he's just gonna fucking fight or fuck or drink at any time, dude.
Yeah, just like on edge.
Yeah. Let me turn this camera on. Hold on, watch this. Talk, entertain the people. Entertain the
Yeah.
people.
Oh, we can just edit this out, right? Is it not an edited
That was
podcast?
simple enough, dude. Yeah, man. Well, Al Ross does a hella good Australian accent. It's like, it sounds like he's just smoked so many cigarettes, and so it just works out so well.
Yeah, Ross is hilarious. I heard him. I mean, I've never met him, but I heard him do you know how Subtronics puts out those now that's what I call rhythm things.
Yeah.
And then he has like a bunch of people say like, hey, this is blah blah blah, and you're listening to Subtronics' new mix or whatever. Yeah, the Al Ross one was pretty funny. He's like, hey, this is Al Ross, and you're fucked. You're literally fucked.
Yeah.
And I was like, good call out.
I had him on the podcast, and it was literally one where we were crying like half the time, like laughing, and also getting really deep on some topics, man.
Nice.
Dude, there's been some times where I see some of your guests, right? There's times where your podcast pisses me off, son, because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get this
What?
guest, and then I see it on the Mr. Bill podcast. I was like, son of a bitch, I gotta wait a little bit now.
Wait, which guest?
I know whenever he did Subtronics, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get it.
Uh-huh.
Oh, damn, he got him. And then Squinto. No, what was it? Subtronics? Oh, no, Squinto. Have you had Subtronics on? Yeah, you
I've
have
had both
actually.
of them
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. I know it was a Squinto. I was like, because he was hardcore on some conspiracy shit on some Twitters. And I
Yeah.
was like, man, I'm gonna get him on the podcast. And then I saw you had him. I was like, he beat me to it, bro.
Well, I think like there's probably some crossover for our audiences, but I'm pretty sure
Absolutely.
that there'd be people who listen to your podcast who don't listen to mine, and vice versa. And I think that you see this in the comedy scene a lot, right? Like when a new comedian has like a new special out or whatever, they'll just do like the podcast circuit. They'll do like Your Mum's House, Joe Rogan, the Theo Von one, Bert Kreischer's one. Like they'll just sort of do them all, right? They'll do the
Yeah.
H3 podcast and so on. So I feel like, it could just be like that. If a bunch of electronic musicians end up having podcasts, it's like when I put a new album out, I'll just go on all of them.
Yeah.
And then it's a great circuit to do for promotion and stuff like that. And it's grassrootsy, which is awesome. I mean, it's, Facebook is like kind of, fucked us in the sense that A, we're the product of it, and B, if you ever want to show anyone your shit, you have to pay them a shitload of money. So, yeah, that's kind of annoying. But yeah, so I hope that, podcasts in the electronic music scene take off in the same way that they have in the comedy scene, because it would be a great resource to have for everybody, I think, to promote their new shit, and just, it's fun to have conversations and stuff like that.
No, I totally agree, man. There ain't a lot. It's just like me, you, Willie Joy, and
Willie
that's
Joy,
it,
is that
right?
Barely
Huh?
Alive? Is that Barely Alive?
Willie Joy? Is that Barely Alive?
Is it?
I don't think so. But Willie Joy, he's his own man's.
Willie Joy. Okay, that's not. I think it's a completely different guy. My bad.
Yeah, he's
So-
got a pod, but I think that's it. I could be if there's other DJ who have podcasts, I could be missing it.
Oh, okay. So Barely Alive is a duo made up of Matt and Willie.
Willie Joy. Oh wow, I did not know that.
It's not Willie Joy, I don't think.
Okay.
But maybe it is Willie Joy.
Maybe, I mean, what are the odds that one guy's named Willie? You know what I'm saying? How many Willies have you
Yeah.
met in your life?
Not that many. I mean, I've met some Williams. I've met like 2 Williams. Not a lot of
son.
Willies though. Yeah, I'm not sure.
William's son, dude. I just mixed Castaway and goddamn Karate Kid. That's what I just mixed. Speaking of,
Yeah,
dude,
nice.
you gotta watch Cobra Kai. Do you watch Netflix at all? Did you ever see the original Karate Kid?
I think I did. Is that like the wax on, wax off guy?
Yeah. So there's like there's a new show on Netflix called Cobra Kai, and
I
it's
saw
basically,
the preview for it.
dude, it's one of the most badass shows I've ever seen in my life. Like, I literally watched it Friday. I binge watched that bitch all in one day. It was so good I couldn't turn it off. I wanted to go for like and hang out with friends. It was so good I couldn't turn it off, bro. You gotta go check it out. It's some good shit.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll sort it out. Have you watched the show Dark?
Dark, no.
It's pretty good. It's about like time travel and stuff. It's
I've gotten told about
German-
it. I think it might have been you telling me about it or somebody else. No, I don't reckon it was you.
Yeah, I don't think it was me. It's a German show that's been overdubbed with English voices, so it's like, you know, you can watch it if you don't speak German. And it's pretty good. It's a pretty deep show. I've been watching that a lot lately.
I'll have to
And
check it out, dude.
Last night I watched some documentaries. I watched AlphaGo last night, and I watched a documentary about people who do speed cubing. You know about that?
Nah, it's like a drug.
No, yeah, it sounds like a drug.
does.
No, it's like people who just solve Rubik's cubes like super fast.
Can you do one? Can you do a Rubik's Cube?
No, I can't solve a Rubik's cube at all, let alone fast. But these people solve them in like 6 seconds. Like there's competitions like who can solve it the fastest, and it's crazy.
How does one do it so fast like that? That makes no sense. I don't know how it would be done. Did they say anything? Like, did they give you any tips, like in the show, how to do it?
No, but I mean, I'm assuming just like fucking thousands of hours of practice, right? Just like
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, just like anything. You're right. Nah, man. You been doing any crazy stuff on building any type of live set? Because I know, you're a guy who's done a lot of really dope and original sets. With you and KJ. You and didn't you and who am I trying to think? Didn't you and Il Gates do one, or am I mixing this around?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, no, I haven't really been working on live set stuff in a while, since like 2016, 2017 is when I was doing a lot of them. But then ever since then, I kind of just like packed the live set down and just started DJing. And what I've realized is, one, my fees didn't change. And it was way more expensive to do the live show, which means I just profit way more off doing shows now. And two, my crowds didn't get any bigger or smaller. In fact, they just got bigger because I started making dubstep. I don't know, like, and three, it's like nobody has really come up to me after a show and been like, cool show, sucks that it wasn't live, like no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
So I kind of figured, like, if I'm doing all of this for me, it's like pretty expensive just to do it for me. And I just can't justify like basically but spending, like upwards of 20 grand a year on doing shows or something like that, just because I want to do something more elaborate than everyone else, or something like that. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to write beats and DJ. And it's been way more fun, honestly, than doing live shows. Doing those live shows that I was doing with like drummers and stuff like that, it's stressful.
Very
Like, you're
stressful.
traveling with a lot of gear, and then setup and sound check is like a pain in the ass. And then you can't fly anywhere, so you have to drive everywhere. So there's long ass drives every day. And if you have a bus driver, that's fine, but we didn't, so we were driving all ourselves. And then during the show, there's just so much that can go wrong. Like, there's just, with a DJ set, it's kind of like the only things that go wrong is you accidentally fuck up, or somebody unplugs a CDJ or something like that. Like, there's a couple of things that can go wrong, right? With a live show with tons of MIDI controllers and computers that are linked via Ethernet, and lots of Macs for live shit going on and all that kind of stuff, there's just so much that can go wrong. And if something goes wrong in the middle of the show, like debugging your set is so hard.
How often did that happen?
Luckily, it didn't ever happen, but that's just because I stress tested sets like a ton before touring them. But yeah, I mean, there's been times where I've been playing sets and my computer is just like not blue screen, but like shut down or something from like a low battery or some shit like that.
Yeah, overload on the CPU. Anything like that ever happen? Just like too much CPU going on?
I've had like clicks and pops in sets before from stuff like that.
Yeah, it's got to be stressful, man. I used to do live drumming
Oh,
And
cool.
you know, whenever I first started touring, I had my MIDI pads because I grew up being a drummer, and I did that for a while. But then I found out the same thing. It was more expensive. I had to buy an extra bag so I could bring all that shit. And then also the way I did it is I couldn't like the way I wrote the set is like it had to be played a certain way, and there was no like mixing out of songs early. Like they had to be played in full. So like I felt like whenever I switched back to not doing the live drumming, I actually ended up having more energy with the crowd. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
it just wasn't worth all the effort.
You said you had more energy when you were doing the drumming?
No, without like as far as with the crowd, because I'm able to mix out of songs faster. I'm able to like be more and like pay attention to the crowd and where I need to go. With the drumming, I'm like focused on drumming because what I did is I would completely take the drum samples out of the song completely. So it's like if I don't hit a drum, there's literally no drums playing. So it's just like, you know, and so I'm really focused on that instead of like focusing on the crowd and making sure that they're having a good time and stuff like that.
Right, but then you start like asking yourself in the studio when you're like moving shit around by like a couple of milliseconds to like get all of your timing on like where stuff hits, you know, correct in terms of like the groove of it and like where sidechain is hitting and stuff like that. You start to ask like, why am I even doing this if I'm just going to fuck it all up live anyway? You know, like I'm just going to pull it all out and I'm never going to play it exactly this quantized live.
Yep.
So
That's true.
there's
Yeah.
that. And then also, I just feel like to some degree, a live show isn't, at least the way I was doing it, that live, because it would be the same sort of set list every night, and then as the set was playing, there would just be segments of tunes that would like mute, and then I would play the part of the tune that of the layer that got muted, right? So you know, it'd be like a keyboard part or like a MIDI drum pad part or some part that I would play, and it kind of made me feel like this is not that live. It's just me fucking sort of
Playing what should be there.
Yeah, just sort of like yeah, exactly. That I could just unmute the thing. It would sound the exact same, and I feel like I have a lot more freedom DJing because I'm able to play the set list in any way, and that feels like somehow more freeing than doing the arrangement view sets that I was doing.
Yeah, I did. I feel like I was very surprised when, about like with your set whenever I saw you. Whenever we played together in where was it, Montreal? We played together. Yeah, I was very surprised because you were playing like a pretty heavy set and like everything I had like all the songs that I had like really known you by and like, you know, recognized you by were like these pretty like elaborate IDM or like these really pretty like melodic stuff. So like whenever I saw you were playing like heavy stuff, I was like very, very surprised. Is that
so
go for it?
I was gonna say, yeah, I basically got to a point where I was like, if I want to be like aggressively playing shows and you know, playing bigger slots on like bigger stages and shit like that, then I have to be playing heavier tunes pretty much. Like that just seems to be, you know, there's obviously exceptions to that rule, like John Hopkins or, you know, Tipper maybe, even though some of Tipper's shit's pretty hard. But generally the people who are like playing all those bigger shows and stuff are playing like heavy dubstep and shit like that, right? So I was like, all right, I mean, I can do that. Like, it's not a matter of like whether or not I can do it or not. But it was just a matter of kind of figuring out like, do I want to be known that way? And also, will I like in general enjoy my life as much if I'm spending my days making dubstep rather than IDM? And what I figured is like, it doesn't it doesn't need to be mutually exclusive. Like I can make dubstep and IDM, right? Like and that's kind of what I have been doing, like releasing heavy EPs and then my plan is to do IDM albums. And Tipper does that, right? Like he releases those 4-track EPs that are pretty heavy, and then he does every few years a full length album that's like more pretty down tempo stuff. So A, it doesn't need to be mutually exclusive, and B, I think like if I'm smart about it, making dubstep isn't even a pain in the ass. It's super fun. Like if I make it on my terms, it can still sound palatable to a dance floor, and it can still be something that I find to be technically interesting.
Yeah, you mentioned Tipper, and actually we had a fan question, and I want to pull up this guy's name. I took a picture because I want to give him some credit. Reza Monosastat. I fucking butcher that name. I already know it, but that person
Reza Monosastat?
Minnow Astat. Reza Minnow Astat. All right.
Okay.
Instead, ask him about working with Tipper, please. Yeah, how was that, man? Working with Tipper, because the man's kind of a fucking legend in his own lane. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not a guy that's on the social medias. He's not a guy that has insane branding. He's just this own little entity that just has like this insane following. What was that like working with him?
Yeah. It was cool. Yeah. So he came to my studio one day because he wanted to switch from Logic to Ableton because he's like a Logic user and he has been for a long time. But I guess he wants to move to Ableton, or he wanted to move to Ableton just because I think he saw that it had surpassed Logic in a lot of ways. And also everyone was using it, right? So if he ever wanted to like collaborate with anyone, it was just more possible if he was using Ableton. And yeah, I don't know. He just wanted to switch. So maybe he just wanted a change of pace in his DAW. He might have just been looking at it Logic for too many years straight and just whatever. So he came to my studio because he moved to Denver and I was living in Denver at the time. So he came to my studio just to like, learn, like for me to show him some stuff pretty much. And then we ended up just sitting in the studio for like 12 hours working on this tune. And we got like a pretty good start on a tune. Not sure if we'll actually ever finish it. I've like hit him up a bunch of times about it and he seems like kind of on the fence about wanting to work on it. So yeah, I'm not really sure what's going to happen with it, but working with him was sick. It was like really interesting, or like reassuring to know that even someone like him is just like doing whatever sort of thing. Like that, he's not like this. I mean, he's fucking a legend and he's an amazing producer, but he's like you and I in the sense that he's just fucking around too, like he just opens his DAW and just clicks shit until it works. He's not like some super systematic knows everything in the book sort of producer that people may think he is. He's just like any producer, just clicks shit and does random crap and something comes out the other end. Eventually you like make a decision to keep something that sounds good and he just makes a lot of the right decisions to keep the right things and gets the results.
That is good to know, man, because I feel like a lot of my songs half the time are accidents. Like, like you ever finish a song and it's like really fucking good. You're like, damn, I will never make anything this good just because I completely had no idea how I just made this.
I think I've seen like so much synthesis at this point and so much Ableton that I don't really have that anymore. I feel like I could listen to most of my songs and remake them. But yeah, I kind of know what you mean. But then again, having said that, a lot of my songs are accidental as well, or at least a lot of sounds in my songs are. Almost all of the sounds in my songs, apart from like drums and subs, are accidental.
I had another fan question. This is from a guy, Cliff Garrett. He wants to know about the experience of you making music for movies, how that was for you.
Dude, that was crazy. So yeah, I just woke up one day and this guy was in my DMs, just like, he was in my email inbox actually, just saying like, hey, I've made the movie Crank and Crank 2 with Jason Statham, and I'm making a movie with Nicolas Cage right now. Do you want to score it? And I was like, yeah, definitely. So that was how that happened. It was just a random email I got. And as for the process, it was pretty demanding. A, because I was on tour at the time, and B, because just, I don't know, working to picture, it's like, they can cut a scene and then they'll send it to me, but they'll be like, we can't really like cut it anymore until you put some music down to it, and we need that in like an hour. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I was like, just having lunch or whatever, but I guess I'll just stop that and just like work on music right now.
Did you do the whole movie?
Yeah, I scored the whole movie. So it was pretty demanding. Like an hour, I don't think ever happened. But there was shit where they like needed it that day, like where they'd send me stuff and be like, we need stuff like by the end of the day, and that was like 4 or 5 hours away. So, yeah, there was a lot of stuff like that. It was like super demanding in terms of like timelines. It moves very fast, whereas the pace that I'm used to working at is just however long I feel like spending on a thing. So that was different, and that was honestly pretty cool. I like working to deadlines, like I said earlier. And it was just interesting, like working on a film, I guess. Like I've not often have I loaded video into Ableton, which by the way sucks. Loading video into Ableton is horrible.
Yep.
And
I used to edit my podcast on doing video. I used to on my PC in Ableton, but yeah.
Yeah. So loading video and just like scoring to it is something I haven't done a ton of. And it's just an interesting thing to do, to be like, literally, I'm not trying to make something here that the forefront of it is the song itself. This is literally just another layer among dialogue and acting and cinematography and all that kind of shit, right? So it's like you have to like do something that just sort of beds the scene with a vibe and doesn't like call attention to itself too much. So that's
So
kind
like,
of
are you
tricky.
just dragging samples, or are you like composing full tracks, like under like just chill out tracks under or intense tracks?
Yeah, I was like writing music under it, and most of the music was like ambient. Have you listened to it? It's on Spotify.
No, I'm gonna have to
Um,
go check it out.
yeah, just go to Spotify and type in "Mum and Dad soundtrack." So it's like mostly ambient music and like glitch sounds and stuff like that.
That's fucking dope. That's one of those things that's like, you know, you get into music and you do a lot of time making a certain type, so you expect like, you know, to tour, to get shows, like, you know, those are things you expect. But I feel like music scoring for a music is something that is just one of those things you never would expect it to happen, right?
So it's something I always thought about and something I always wanted to do, but something that I never knew how to get into. And also, yeah, something that not that I never expected it, but just like it wasn't on my radar at that time. Like I wasn't thinking this year I'm going to score a Nicolas Cage movie, you know, like I was just thinking I'm going to do this tour and then I'm going to probably do more shows at the end of the year and maybe make an album or something like that. I was not like thinking that I was going to spend the rest of 2016 and the start of 2017 working on a movie.
Yeah, how long does that process of scoring for movies? Does that take a long time?
It was about 6 to 8 months, I think, or maybe even a year. It was, yeah, over quite a while.
It's really cool how there's those opportunities that just come from music that you wouldn't expect. Like I made a song for the Kansas City Chiefs in 2018, their football team, the NFL team. So they wanted a song for their preseason, right? And they were very specific about what they wanted. It was only 60 seconds worth of a song. They reached out to a bunch of producers. But the song that I made for them, they liked it so much that they used it for their regular season. So every time that the Chiefs would walk onto the field, they would play that song for that entire season. There'd be like fireworks. They had a whole video. And it was one of those things where I was like, fuck, man. Like I never thought something like that would happen, but I'm like, it's just one of those opportunities that you get from music that you just wouldn't fucking expect.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, music can take you to some weird events and places and stuff that you wouldn't expect. Like for instance, when I was younger, if you'd asked me like, do you think you'll ever go to India, or like, do you think you'll ever go to Mexico, or do you think you'll ever go to like Hong Kong or something like that, I'd probably be like, no, why would I go to those places? You know, like I had no interest in traveling at all. I mean, I had like maybe, when I was younger, I really had no interest in traveling. Like I never even thought I'd like travel to America that often. Definitely didn't think I would ever like move to another country.
Yeah.
And yeah, through music, like all of that has happened.
Even just like, you know, through music, you've built a fan base for a podcast too. You know, I mean, like even stuff like that is just kind of crazy as fuck. Think about.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, dude, I mean, we've been going at it for a minute, dude. You know, I really appreciate you coming on my show. I've wanted to have you back on. I know we said, you know, we would do each other's shows, so I'm glad we could do it this week, bro. Really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, same, man. Thanks for having me. And yeah, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. It's always a fun time. Hopefully, I'll be in New Orleans at some point and we can hang out.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. It'd be nice, dude. You know, you're a guy that I've learned so much from, and and it's crazy. Like, you know, whenever I talk to people like who have like these tutorial videos, it's like you don't realize how much I've learned from you just from you putting out videos, man. So I appreciate you doing stuff like that, man. It's helped me out a lot.
Yeah, of course. Fuck
well,
yeah, man.
I will. I'll talk to you later, buddy. Mr. Bill, everybody.
All right. Cheers.
And how's Mr. Bill, everybody? What a fucking legend. He's such a beast producer. Like, he's just one of those guys that's just so roundly. Is that a right word to use right there? He's just a guy who's just respected so much in the producer world and in the DJ scene. Just guy going over the grain. Is that the right saying either? I don't know. I'm fucking up my sayings, dude, so I'm just going to go. I hope y'all enjoyed this week's episode of the Talks with Taboo. I'll talk to y'all next week. I think next week my stepbrother's going to be in town, so I think I'm going to have his crazy redneck ass on the podcast, and we're just going to get drunk and have a good time, you know, and just talk about some stories of our childhood growing up with our crazy ass redneck father. It should be fun. Anyway, I love y'all. Have a good week. Peace.